The 19 state governors in the northern region have aired their strong displeasure on the recent tax reform bill the federal government submitted to the National Assembly for approval. Specifically, the governors opposed a proposed shift to a derivation-based model for value-added tax distribution, claiming this model will put northern states and other less industrial regions at a disadvantage.
The governors under the Northern States Governors Forum made their opposition clear in a communique after a strategic meeting in Kaduna. They demand equity and fairness in national policy implementation and emphasize that no geopolitical zone should be shortchanged. This comes after President Bola Tinubu submitted 4 tax reform bills to the National Assembly for consideration earlier on in October. We're joined this morning by the derivation. This morning we're joined by our guests who will be sharing with us exactly what the situation is. Please welcome with us Shehu Madi as he explores this conversation. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right. So let's get your thoughts. First of all, the northern governors thinking about how exactly this is shortchanging the north. Do you agree with that standpoint, or is there something really to be concerned about?
Well, I am surprised that the governors have just woken up from their sleep and slumber because money is involved. But where have they been since when the North is being decimated? Where have they been since when the entire northern economy has been reduced into lumps? Where have they been with over 50 million children out of school? Where have they been with the collapse of infrastructures? Where have they been with the collapse of education and the health sector? They now have a voice because money is involved. The moment the bill is passed into law, it means they are going to be denied that chunk of money being given to them. Now, that being aside, I am not surprised that Bola Tinubu is doing what he is doing. Why? Because it is documented the record that he openly said it as part of his campaign promise. He is fulfilling his campaign promise that he's going to restrict your purchasing power. And Nigerians were so carried away by sentiment, blind sentiment, and by ignorance that they never gave that particular statement a real understanding. Now he is actualizing and practicalizing, restricting the income of people. Now, it is sad. Whoever are giving him this advice, whoever they should know that they are being ungodly. They are being inhuman and sadistic. When you are reviewing the value-added tax sharing formula, you are being naive and uneducated for the following reasons. Number one, VAT is about consumption. Taxes being added at every level of consumption. Consumption drives itself out from production. Production is a continuous process. Now, who are the consumers? If you take Lever Brothers who are producing Omo, they are producing Omo where? In Lagos. But in every part of this country, Omo is being purchased for purposes. Pick Dangote's Indomie, pick Dangote's spaghetti, take his macaroni. It is being produced at a particular location, but being consumed everywhere. When Dangote is paying his own VAT, he is paying his VAT in Lagos. But the consumers, millions of them are not in Lagos. Now, out of insensitivity, Tinubu is saying that, okay, the places where these taxes are being paid will take chunk of the VAT, and the others will take the crumb. That is insensitive, that is ungodly, that is sadistic, and that is why there are more fools and there are more tribalists in Nigeria today. And that is why you have less of citizens. How do you create fools? Fools, and who are even fools? It is leaders who create fools. Who are fools? Fools are those people across all the Nigeria, across the entire world, across region and religion, who only think about themselves,
Madishe,
who
hold
dream
on.
about themselves, and who plan for themselves.
Hold on. Can we focus? Can you hold on? Can we focus on what exactly is ungodly about the president saying, that this tax reform will make, the regions that have these industries to benefit more from the taxation than those who do not, of course, who have less of the industries? What exactly is ungodly about that?
Being inequitable, being unjust, being unfair is being ungodly. This is what is exactly happening now. He is trying to pauperize the entire country. He is trying to pauperize the entire north because he knows there is no production activity in the north, or there is minor activities in the north. But there is maximum consumption in the north. We have more population consuming what is produced in Lagos, in Aba, in Port Harcourt than in any other part of the country.
Yeah, but can't those in the south, can't the people in Lagos say that it is unfair? That they suffer the brunt of the production? These factories are located in, we'll use Lagos for example, in Ekpe now where the Dangote refinery will be located, there might be some environmental issues over there as well. So can the people in the southern part say that, well, it's unfair to us that we bear the brunt of production?
They also destroy our, if Dangote is transporting his oil to the north, his trucks are destroying the entire northern roads.
Same with the rest of the country.
If Liver Brothers are transporting their product to the north, their trucks destroy the entire northern roads.
But again, same with the rest of the country. The trucks pass through every part of the country.
No. It takes two to tango. Whatever items are being produced in the east, in the south, being transported to the north, they also have their ecological and environmental impact on the north. So you cannot just have one as a cake and one as a powder. You cannot make fish of one and fowl of the other. You cannot. You have an option.
Okay. All right. We'll come back to talk about this tax reform bill and what the implications might be. But I want us to also talk about another issue where we've seen that those in the north have argued that the current power outage is sabotage, is intentionally targeted at the north to stifle growth. Do you agree with this position as well?
Well, whether a sabotage or not, whether deliberate or not, whether foreseen or not, it is clear that we don't have government in place. It means there are people who are still aggrieved. Whoever are the people responsible for this outage must be people who are aggrieved, who are not comfortable with the way and manner we are being mismanaged. We are not being managed. We are being sufficiently mismanaged in an industrial scale under the government of Bola Tinubu and APC. I don't see it as sabotage. I see it as a failure of governance, failure of security, failure of managing people and their own resources. Assuming it is sabotage, congratulations to the saboteurs. Now that we have no light, we have no water, there is nothing, we have no money in the north. Yet we are still surviving. Many are dying every day. But in the manner we are dying, so shall other people die. In the manner we are being pauperized, some people are going to be pauperized. It's just a cycle from God. We are waiting for God to act in his best way, at his own chosen time. For those people who are subjecting millions of people to suffering, they will see suffering. They will see disease. They will see decay. They will see delay. Because this is man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah. Madishe, so back to the VAT conversation. So,
yes,
shouldn't this be a time of motivation for northern governors and rulers in the north to figure out ways with which they can become more industrialized and generate better IGR for their states? Because what it seems, and the argument really is that these governors, I think you started with that, and I think I'll give that to you. You started with it. these governors have really just sat down there as governors for decades without necessarily contributing any bits of industrialization to northern Nigeria. And so the argument has always been that they are benefiting from the toiling that goes on in the southern part of the country, and at some point they need to wake up. And so are they saying now that they like the system that way? They don't necessarily need to industrialize. They don't need to go back to having the pyramids of, granite pyramids that used to be in the north, or the textile industries that used to be in the north. They don't care about that. They just want the status quo to continue, where tax is shared equally, including tax from alcohol, where people have pointed out that you don't consume alcohol in northern Nigeria, but the taxation gets all the way to the north.
Okay, let me just give a rider. The rider is that part of the bill that was submitted by Tinubu is also seeking to centralize the collection of all government revenues into what? Into one single entity, the Revenue Service Commission. In other words, that is the reason why virtually 70% of the operation of FIS has now been relocated to Lagos, because that is where taxpayers are paying tax. Now, that is going to create an imbalance in the number of people being employed. Many are going to lose their jobs because nobody is going to collect any tax anymore, the VAT, in the north and other taxes. As what we are talking now, as at now, there are more than 79 types of taxes being collected. Of those taxes, except pay as you earn that is being collected in every state, the remainder are virtually being collected either in Abuja or in Lagos. Now back to the governors. I agree with you, absolutely, completely, and totally, that over the last many years, over the last decades, they were just relying on the revenue that they collect from the Federation account, live high on it, comfortable on it, spend it in the manner they want, because without being asked any question. Anybody who asks a question is an enemy. But then that is up to the northern voters. It is the naivety and the docility of the northern voters that make them continue voting people continuously, voting them as governors, voting them as ministers, voting them as senators, voting them as members, and queuing out their houses to collect handouts from the money meant for their own development. Therefore, the North have an option. Northern voters have an option to inquire, to query, to insist that anybody aspiring to preside over them must give them a plan, development plan, industrialization plan. Short of that, we will continue being beggars for the rest of our lives.
All right, as quickly as you can, how do you foresee that this ends, this derivation-based model of VAT that the northern governors are kicking against? If it goes through, how do you foresee that this all ends?
Let me tell you, if care is not taken, it's going to be the fastest bill that will be passed into law. The fastest, for two reasons. Number one, the governors are asking the National Assembly members to oppose the bill. But 90% of National Assembly members are not in good terms with their governors. Governor sees a senator as an enemy because he's a potential governor. Every senator is a potential governor. Therefore, governors sees senators or House members that are popular as potential governors. Therefore, they will never bring them closer. They are now asking them to do a job because it's going to affect the revenue that is coming into the state. Number two, if the governors think their cry will be listened by Tinubu, they are mistaken. Members will collect money. Majority of them has a price tag. And Tinubu understands very well that money is important to most of members of the National Assembly. Some of them are there, they never mention any bill. They never make any contribution to a single debate, but they are there busy becoming kingmakers. They are there becoming a cartel, a cabal, a clique that distribute money. Therefore, money will be distributed. This bill will be passed into law. The governors may go to court. They will end up losing in courts.
All right.
You quote me any day. This was going to happen.
All right, Madi Shehu, thanks for joining us this morning. I think the important parts of the conversation, have been mentioned. The need for northern leadership to wake up. I remember that the Buhari administration was called out back then for their fake rice pyramids, where they set up, rice pyramids, and then eventually it turned out that it was all just, space. But thanks very much. We look forward to speaking with you again. Thanks for your time.